and welcome to another edition of Literature and Art. Today, I will be discussing three major reasons why literature students don't do too well in their external exams like WASSCE and JAM. Three major reasons why literature students don't do too well in literature exams, particularly WASSCE and JAM. Number one on the list is the desire to seek easier way than the right way. How do I mean? For every literature exam, there is a prescribed text, either poem, or let me say there are prescribed texts, novels, plays, and poems. But rather than reading the books itself, many literature students seek for abridged series to read up in doing the exam. And being an English teacher for some years now, I can tell you that 80% of students fall short here. Rather than get books, the novel itself, the play itself, and study them, they prefer to go and get the abridged series and look for where it's already read, somebody has summarized it, listed the themes and explained, and the character identifications have been done. I want to tell you that there is no easy way to success. Of course, many students give lots of excuses for this. Some say their parents don't have the money to buy the book. Others say that yes, and they just give so many flimsy excuses. But the chief among the excuses is that they are very lazy. And there is no one that laziness has ever helped. I want to make you know that there is no way you will read a summary and you'll be able to have a full grasp of a text. In fact, reading a book once, you cannot have a full comprehension of the book. We are talking about novels of about 200 pages, novels of about 300 pages, and somebody does a summary of maybe 4 to 5 pages, and you think the person has captured everything in the text, you must be deceiving yourself. So if your interest is in succeeding and coming out with flying colors, particularly in literature, you must be ready to read the novels. You must be ready to read the plays cover to cover. And like I prescribe for my students, at least you should read a play or a novel 3 times. Yes, 3 times. Because you cannot grasp all that the author is saying in just one reading. The second reading will give you in-depth understanding. In fact, by the time you read it the second time, you will notice certain things that you will see that you never noticed in your first reading. And then the third one. At least you should read that play or novel 3 times. By the time you are done with your third reading, you will have a full grasp of every details in that play or novel. And as such, there is nowhere the question will be coming from that you will not have sufficient idea, sufficient point to prove your point. So please and please, my dear students, don't seek the easy way out. Get the novels, sit down and read them. Apart from the fact that you are reading it to pass an exam, I want you to also cultivate one very important culture you must cultivate as a literature person is the love for reading. You know, many people who study literature in secondary school will eventually become lawyers. And I'm sure you know, at least you have an idea of what being a lawyer entails. You have to read to details. You have to read in between the lines. You have to understand cases. Literature builds that reading culture in you right from secondary school. But if you are trying to run away from that training, how do you prepare yourself for that future you are hoping to become? So, my dear friend, don't be lazy. Pick up those novels. Get them any way you can. If you want to borrow, if you want to deny yourself your meals to be able to get the money to get the book, make sure you get them and read them. Not once, not twice, at least 3 times. The second reason many students don't do too well in literature in external exam is very poor command of English language, particularly writing. I have seen over the years students who are very eloquent speakers but very poor at writing English. One way to improve yourself with that is by engaging yourself with constant writing practice. One thing I do, especially for my students, is that I give them assignments such that they can go home, think, and write. Once you cultivate the habit of writing, expressing your thoughts, your mind in the written form, and you do that consistently, you will get better at it. But unfortunately, many of my students end up forfeiting the purpose of those assignments. They go behind and then copy their classmates and then submit. And I usually tell them this: the mind you have not taught to be analytical, the mind you have not taught to be critical, because that's the purpose of those assignments, is for you to train your mind to be critical, to be analytical in answering questions, and then train your writing ability. Nobody is going to beat you. Nobody is going to mark you down for not doing well in assignments. It's a training. But where it matters most is the exam. But if you have built yourself over the time in your writing, in assignments, then when you get to the exam, like I tell them, the mind you have not trained to be critical, to be analytical, that mind cannot produce for you in the exam. It's not magic. Unfortunately, you won't be able to copy in the exam. So that mind that you have not trained to be critical, to be analytic, it will not suddenly become analytical in the exam hall. It will not suddenly become critical. You will not suddenly develop the ability to write well in the exam. So beyond having fluent English, fluent spoken English, you must work on your writing ability. No matter how much idea you have in your mind, you have to pen it down. And that's why you must work on your writing ability. How you can transmit what you have in your mind intelligently into writing form. The third reason many literature students fail or don't do too well in WASSCE and JAM is because there is a particular way in which students of literature are supposed to answer theory questions in the exam. And unfortunately, many literature students are ignorant of this. Of course, I cannot blame them. They should be orientated by their teachers in school. And that's the purpose of this video. You don't answer a literature theory question the way you answer your English comprehension questions. How do you answer it? Well, whichever literature questions you are given in the theory section, you must. There is a marking guide that is given to those examiners that will mark your script. So they are looking for certain things. Those are the things they are going to award you mark on. If those things are not there, then you know that you are not going to have your score. Whenever you are, whichever question you are given, in answering it, the first paragraph must contain what is called relation to theme. Relation to theme. What is relation to theme? You must be able to intelligently and skillfully relate the question you are given to the major themes of the text. You must be able to relate it. For example, you are treating a book like Buchi Emecheta's Second Class Citizen. You must be able to, and the question is how does Buchi Emecheta depict women and womanhood in the text? If you want to answer a question like that, you must be able to relate that question to the major theme of the text. For example, one of the major themes of the text is gender discrimination. So you must be able to intelligently relate it. Your ability to relate it successfully earns you full mark in that paragraph. The second paragraph must contain what is called character identification. You must be able to give us a brief insight into each of the characters that will be required in answering the question. Who are they? What do they stand for? What is their contribution to the plot of the novel or the play? What is their character? So insight into for example, you want to answer a question and then in your third paragraph you mention a character like Trudy. You mention a character like Ma. Somebody who is reading might want to ask, who is Trudy? Who is Ma? But if you have given them a prior knowledge in your second paragraph on character identification, oh, Trudy is this, she's this, she's this. This is her contribution to the plot of the novel. When the person sees Trudy in the third or fourth paragraph, the person, oh, Trudy is this. Because the person has been given prior information concerning who Trudy is. So the second paragraph must contain your character identification. Okay, Ada is this. But the major characters that are involved that you will mention in answering your question. Then, after the first two paragraphs, which I said the first paragraph is relation to theme, the second paragraph is character identification. The third, then you can now have 3 more paragraphs that will contain your points in answering the question. But those 2 first paragraphs are very important. They contain mark. And then when you miss the mark on the first paragraph, you miss it, then what do you have left? You just have for the points that you have raised. So make sure that before you start, you outline your point. The first paragraph and second paragraph are constant. Then the third and fourth or fifth, as the case may be, you must be able to intelligently marshal your point in such a way that you will leave the examiner with no doubt that you deserve the mark. In this video, I've discussed the 3 major reasons why students don't do too well in external exams. Literature students don't do too well in the external exam. And I've provided the insight into solving these problems. My desire is that in your next exam, you will come out in flying colors if you will take heed to this advice. I want you to keep coming to this channel, Literature and Art. You will find entertaining, interesting, and eye-opening topics on literature and art. Don't forget to click on the subscribe buttons. Thank you for coming. You always meet me here. Thank you.